So the stress ends up impacting women a lot more. So I tend to advocate longer feeding windows, shorter fasting windows, or just simply having that fat in. Another friend of mine, Josh Wheaton, he talked at the same Personalized Life Extension Conference, which I highly recommend, just a couple months ago. His process is basically eating 5 days a week. He eats pretty low carbohydrate. 2 days a week, he eats really low protein. And every day, he eats high fat. Same sort of thing. You get most of the benefits. Now, personally, I tend to advocate just doing pretty much strict intermittent fasting or intermittent fasting plus fat. So a little bit more about some bonuses. I mentioned the coffee plus butter plus MCT oil. But you ask why? So here's the thing. There's this pathway called mTOR. It's mammalian target of rapamycin. And all you science and anti-aging geeks are starting to light it up in the audience. And yeah, I get fascinated by it too. But there's a couple things that really hit that mTOR pathway. Some of the stuff we've heard about it before. Yesterday, we heard Skylar talk about, lifting heavy things hits mTOR. Intermittent fasting hits mTOR. Coffee hits mTOR. So what we're talking is synergy. You get all these different things together that, in the end, you get a lot more of the benefits. And why MCT oil? That medium chain triglycerides, it's basically a source of ketone bodies. Straight source. Your body can't store that. It pretty much has to burn it or let it go. So what it means is your body can stay in this process of ketosis even longer, even in the process or even in the environment when you still have a little bit more carbohydrates. It's fantastic. So let me tie this all in together. Intermittent fasting, simply you're reducing your feeding window so you have times when you're eating and when you're not. But it works best in conjunction with other things. I posted this on Twitter a little while ago. It's fantastic. Jolly's Guide to Six-Pack Abs in 140 characters. The prescription's pretty simple. Do a low carb, and low carb is very important, paleo-style diet. I'm a big fan of the bulletproof exec type of diet. Why? You keep those carbohydrate levels low while minimizing some of the toxins and poisons and other things that we end up eating a lot of times. Plus intermittent fasting. Pretty self-explanatory by now. Lift heavy things. And I don't mean that you go to a gym and lift those 2 or 10-pound dumbbells because you think you're lifting weights. I mean lift heavy things. Go deadlift. Go squat. Sprinting. High-intensity interval training. Look at doing something like Tabitha sprints. From shredding fat loss, the Tabitha sprints, those high-intensity interval trainings plus low-carb plus intermittent fasting, some of the most useful protocols I've seen. For bonus points, if you're going to do carbohydrates, eat them all in a small window, ideally right after workout, and then top it all off with that coffee plus butter and MCT oil in the morning. It's a prescription, but it's a biohacker's prescription. It's how to get the most amount of results with the least amount of effort. Any questions? Go for it.
Great presentation, speech. My one question was about the last part. As far as when you work out, would you still include the coffee or just the MCT oil and butter?
So I would definitely include the coffee. As I was saying, part of it, it's the mTOR pathways. What I didn't really get into is mTOR. I tend to care about it more from an aging perspective, but also as benefits from a muscle gaining perspective. Again, I do the coffee in the morning. You want that MCT oil. You want that butter. Dave might talk about it tomorrow, but butter also has some really nice aspects with the butyric acid. So definitely combine the two. And again, stimulants do end up helping significantly from a workout perspective. And I would also end up advocating creatine is probably like the most researched sports supplement out there. You don't need anything fancy. You don't necessarily need a crazy pre-workout mix, but straight creatine monohydrate, it's great from a lean body mass perspective.
Hey, Jolly, killer presentation. I wanted to toss you a bag of upgraded coffee as a way of saying thanks. But
another bag to go in my supply.
There's something I actually wanted to point out for all of you. Did you notice the quality of his presentation? I counted ums. There were 3 ums. This is a guy whose brain is turned all the way on. And it's turned all the way on because he eats a high-fat diet, he uses coffee, and he uses smart drugs, and he's done other work like that as well. That's the sort of stuff you're going to hear about later today. But that was a kick-ass presentation from a guy who presents like he's maybe 10 or 15 years older than he actually is. So if you want to do that Toastmasters kind of thing, turn your brain on so you can think and talk at the same time like Jolly just did. That was a pretty awesome talk.
I'd like to mention one thing there.